In 2000 was appointed Indiana's Attorney General. She's a graduate of both Harvard and Harvard Law School. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Karen Freeman-Wilson.
Good afternoon. There seems to be a conflict between giving a former trial lawyer and now politician a stage and a room full of people and a clock in front of him. But certainly I appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you at Chicago Ideas Week, and certainly we have heard from a very distinguished group of individuals, and so I'm humbled to be counted among this group. I also am really excited to participate in a discussion on cities, given the fact that, to me, cities really tell a lot about us as a country. It gives you not only an insight to innovation, but it gives you an idea of how we view important things like economic development and sustainability, but it also gives you a window of how our country, a country, treats its poor and those who really can't speak for themselves. And so this is a great discussion. So now to my city, our city, Gary, Indiana. You know, in order to really understand the challenges and how we're responding to the challenges in the city of Gary, I think it's important for you to understand Gary in the context of history. And at the turn of the 20th century, Gary was created by United States Steel. And it was a company town. It was the first billion-dollar corporation in the world. And as a consequence, it created a city that quickly became known as the Magic City. It was called the Magic City because of its exponential growth. But it was also called the Magic City because it had the newest and the best infrastructure. It had the best school system, or one of the best school systems in the country. There was a place, this was a place where you could have a high school diploma and do extremely well. And many of the innovations of the industrial age, that sounds a little oxymoronic now, were there right in Gary, Indiana. So let's fast forward to the 60s and 70s, when you saw the decline of U.S. steel, or at least increasing competition from foreign steel. And that also brought many of the challenges that we are now facing in the city of Gary, Indiana. We saw certainly a declining infrastructure. We saw a declining property tax base. We saw an increasing crime rate. And we saw increasing racial strife. In fact, in some instances, racial polarization. And we saw our poverty rate raised to what it is now, which is almost 30%. And so what do you do in a situation like that? After all, I ran 3 times, so I couldn't just shake my head and say, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do about this, because obviously I had an idea. We had ideas. But what it did bring about was the importance of innovation. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what our answer was to that. The first thing was to develop a team concept. I know that's not a great light bulb, but to take that team concept to a level that it had not been taken in our municipal government before. And it really started first with our elected officials, to say we all have to work together in order to get this done. Our city clerk, Suzette Rags, is here today. But we all got together and said, you know, the political maneuverings, the strife that we often saw in our city between factions, we had to really subordinate our personal interests as public officials to the need and the importance that we brought as those who were elected and appointed to serve the citizens of our community. And so we developed a team concept. But that team concept wasn't just among elected officials. It was something that we developed early on, even before taking office in our administration. And so I went to people who I knew cared as much as I did about the city of Gary, who had distinguished themselves in other cities, in private and even in public industry, and said, you know, I know that I've just jumped off a cliff, but I want you to come and jump off this cliff with me. And we heard other speakers talk about youth. Many of them were under the age of 40, and so they were willing to jump a lot quicker than I was. And they were willing to come home and help to rebuild the city. And so that was a key part of our development of team. Some of them were there already, but the importance of it was that they were willing to come back and use the ideas and the knowledge and the innovative strategies that they had gained in other places and even corporate America, and use it to the benefit of the citizens and the city of Gary. That's another part of the team. But we also had to make sure that our residents felt that they had a role to play. Throughout the campaign, people came to me and said, you know, if you're elected mayor, you know what you should do. If you're elected mayor, you know what needs to happen. They were full of ideas, but they felt no ownership. And even after being elected, people came to me and said, you know, what the city, what the government, what they need to do. And I would ask them, well, who are they? Isn't it we? And so we developed a number of ways that people could get involved. We started an Adopt a Park program. I sat down and said, everybody who is a city resident is entitled to 15 minutes with the mayor to give me your best ideas, to give me your mediocre ideas, to tell me whatever you wanted to tell me that you thought might help us to improve the city of Gary. But I warned them that you couldn't come into City Hall and sit down for 15 minutes without gaining an assignment. So everyone who came in and said, I need the weeds cut in my community. We have potholes. You all don't think it, but potholes are pretty important for a mayor. You know, we have potholes in our alleys. We have abandoned homes in our community. What are you going to do about it? And I would tell them, I said, well, I'll come out to your